Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. In the ever-evolving world of the NFL, where talent often finds itself weighed against controversy, few names ignite debate quite like Tyreek Hill. The wide receiver, known for his blistering speed and game-breaking ability, became a cornerstone of the Miami Dolphins offense shortly after his arrival. During the 2023 NFL season, Hill's impact was undeniable. He not only dazzled with his explosiveness on the field, but also etched his name into the Dolphins' record books by setting a franchise milestone for most receiving yards in a single season. It was the kind of performance that makes a player seemingly untouchable, a force of nature whose on-field contributions overshadow the noise surrounding his personal life. Yet, time has a way of shifting narratives, and the 2024 season proved to be far more sobering for both Hill and the Dolphins organization. After a year where he led the entire league in receiving yards, Hill's numbers plummeted to a total of 959 yards, an output that saw him outperformed by no fewer than 29 other receivers across the NFL. While that figure alone might not raise red flags for every elite pass catcher, for a player of Hill's stature and salary, such a statistical downturn opens the door to difficult conversations. One such conversation was recently acknowledged publicly by Dolphins general manager Chris Grier. Known for his methodical and measured approach to roster construction, Grier offered a rare glimpse into the team's internal valuation of its star receiver. He stated that while the Dolphins are not actively shopping Hill, they would be open to considering a trade if another team offered 2 first-round draft picks in return. That's a significant declaration, especially when considering Hill's stature as one of the NFL's most recognizable and explosive offensive weapons. Grier's words weren't just idle speculation. They revealed a threshold, a price tag of sorts, that could ultimately spell the end of Hill's tenure in South Beach. Of course, such a proposal is easier said than realized. The notion of another team parting with multiple first-round picks for a wide receiver entering his 30s, especially one who is coming off a statistically disappointing season and remains under scrutiny due to off-field issues, is not a likely scenario in today's NFL. Hill's most recent controversy, involving a domestic dispute with his wife Keita, has only complicated his standing, both in the eyes of the public and within league circles. Teams are increasingly wary of attaching premium draft capital to players who carry a degree of uncertainty, regardless of their talent. This isn't to say that Hill no longer has value. On the contrary, he remains one of the most electrifying receivers in the league. His unique ability to stretch defenses, his quick acceleration, and his knack for turning routine plays into game-changing moments still make him a valuable asset to any offense. But value, in the NFL, is a moving target, fluid, subject to reevaluation based on performance, age, contract status, and character concerns. And when a player's production slips, even slightly, all the other factors begin to weigh more heavily in the equation. From a strategic standpoint, it's worth examining why Grier would float the possibility of such a trade at this particular moment. The Dolphins, after all, have not been frequent participants in the early stages of recent drafts. In fact, over the last 3 years, Miami has made only one first-round selection. That lone pick came in the 2024 NFL Draft, when the team selected defensive end Chop Robinson with the 21st overall pick. It was a move designed to bolster the defensive front, but it also highlighted just how infrequently the Dolphins have been positioned to acquire top-tier talent via the draft. Looking ahead, the team does hold the number 13 overall pick in the 2025 draft, which could be a pivotal selection in reshaping the roster. The opportunity to add 2 additional first-round picks, if such an offer were ever to materialize, would give the Dolphins a treasure trove of assets. It would allow them to aggressively pursue younger, cost-controlled talent, while also potentially opening the door to a complete philosophical shift in their offensive approach. Trading Hill wouldn't just be about moving on from a superstar. It would be a signal that Miami is willing to pivot, to sacrifice immediate flash for long-term flexibility and depth. Still, there's a certain irony to the situation. When the Dolphins acquired Hill from the Kansas City Chiefs in 2022, they did so by sending over a substantial trade package, including multiple high draft picks. That aggressive move underscored the team's belief that Hill was the final piece of a playoff-contending puzzle. For a time, that belief appeared justified. Hill's chemistry with quarterback Tua Tagovailoa helped elevate Miami's passing attack to among the league's most feared units. But just a few seasons later, the idea of flipping Hill for a similar return suggests that the team is reconsidering its foundation. Of course, any trade speculation involving a player of Hill's caliber comes with inherent risk. Should he bounce back in 2025 with another All-Pro level campaign, the optics of having dealt him away, even for first-round compensation, could haunt the franchise. The NFL is a league driven by results, and few things sting more than watching a former player thrive elsewhere. Conversely, if Hill's decline continues or if further controversies arise, holding on to him could quickly become a burden, financially, reputationally, and in terms of roster construction. For now, Tyreek Hill remains a Dolphin, but the clock may be ticking louder than ever. Chris Grier's remarks did not confirm a trade is imminent, but they made one thing abundantly clear. Hill's future in Miami is no longer set in stone. The line between indispensable star and tradable asset has blurred, and the next move may not be up to the Dolphins alone. All it takes is one bold offer from another franchise to shift the tide. Whether that offer ever comes remains to be seen, but the mere fact that it's being considered marks a dramatic evolution in how Hill is viewed within the organization. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments. What's your take on the Fins this week? There are moments in the NFL that feel like tremors before a full-blown earthquake. Whispers that start off so soft you almost miss them, but then they gather steam, turn into roars, and before you know it, the whole league is shaking. Right now, the epicenter of that tension is sitting quietly in South Florida, as a storm brews around one of the most electric players in the game, Tyreek Hill. The man they call Cheetah, the 7-time Pro Bowler and centerpiece of Mike McDaniel's offense, is reportedly not just considering an exit from the Miami Dolphins, but could be on the verge of joining one of their biggest rivals. This isn't just another offseason rumor. This isn't some fantasy trade cooked up on Twitter or the back page of a blog. Multiple insiders have begun circling this story like sharks in the water. Tyreek Hill, the speed demon who turned Tua Tagovailoa into a near MVP candidate and who shattered records with his route running and breakaway touchdowns, is reportedly unhappy behind the scenes. And worse for Dolphins fans, he's apparently been in contact with teams that would make Miami's path to the Super Bowl infinitely harder. Sources close to the situation have hinted at a breakdown in trust between Hill's camp and the Dolphins front office. Whether it's contract-related, personality clashes, or simply Hill wanting a new challenge as he approaches the twilight of his prime, one thing's becoming more and more clear. The Dolphins are preparing for life after Tyreek. And the NFL, well, it might just be preparing for one of the biggest heel turns we've seen in years. Because the team that's now front and center in the chase for Tyreek Hill? The Buffalo Bills. Let that sink in. Buffalo. The same team Miami has battled for the AFC East crown. The same franchise whose fans have long despised Hill for torching them back in his Kansas City days. The same team that saw Stephon Diggs walk away and now desperately needs a new number 1 target for Josh Allen. It's like a plot twist out of a Hollywood movie. The villain becomes the hero, or maybe just a more dangerous villain on another stage. The Bills have been aggressively reshaping their offense this offseason, trying to retool around Josh Allen's unique talents without losing their identity. Diggs' departure left a gaping hole. Gabe Davis is now gone too. Dalton Kincaid is a rising star at tight end, but he's not going to stretch the field like Hill can. And with Joe Brady fully installed as the OC, Buffalo is reportedly looking to go full speed ahead with a vertical passing attack that leans into Allen's cannon arm and mobility. Tyreek Hill is the ultimate fit, and he knows it. Imagine Josh Allen launching a 60-yard bomb with that trademark flick of the wrist, and Hill flying under it like a fighter jet, blowing past safeties, outrunning corners, and dancing into the end zone as Bills Mafia erupts in frozen ecstasy. It's a terrifying image if you're a defensive coordinator, especially one in the AFC East. But how real is this? According to reports, Buffalo has already inquired about Hill's situation. No official trade package has been revealed, but league executives believe it would take at least a first-round pick and a high-level player to even get Miami to the table. But if the relationship between Hill and the Dolphins has truly soured, as whispers out of the locker room suggest, then Miami may not have much leverage. They'd rather send him out of the conference entirely, sure. But if the offer is strong enough, and if Hill pushes for Buffalo specifically, things could move quickly. And make no mistake, Hill has power. He's not just another wide receiver. He's a brand, a force, one of the rare players who changes the geometry of the field the second he lines up. You have to respect his speed, which opens lanes for everyone else. He's made a career out of terrifying secondaries and punishing teams that dare to play single high safety. He's not the guy you want to lose, but if you do, you better hope it's not to a team you play twice a year. What's interesting is that Tyreek Hill has not exactly denied the rumors. In fact, his social media activity has only poured gasoline on the fire. A cryptic tweet here, a subtle like on a post about Josh Allen there, a suspicious absence from some of the team's voluntary workouts. It all adds up to a man who may already have one foot out the door. From Miami's perspective, the timing is brutal. They're coming off a season where they once looked like contenders. Tua played well, but questions linger about his durability. The defense improved under Vic Fangio, but now he's gone too. The Dolphins were supposed to be building something sustainable, something that could challenge the Chiefs and the Ravens. But losing Tyreek Hill would rip the heart out of that plan. It's hard to imagine Miami's offense working the same way without the cheetah blowing the top off every coverage. And yet, if this trade happens, if Hill does end up in Buffalo, it doesn't just change the AFC East. It changes the entire landscape of the NFL. Suddenly, the Bills go from fringe contenders to Super Bowl favorites. They get the one thing they've always lacked, a truly elite deep threat to pair with Allen's arm. And they send a message to the rest of the league that they're not content with just making the playoffs anymore. They want rings. Now, meanwhile, the Dolphins would have to pivot fast. Maybe they go after a veteran like T. Higgins or draft a speedster like Xavier Worthy. Maybe they double down on Jalen Waddle and hope he can carry the load. But replacing Tyreek Hill? That's not a task you can solve overnight. That's a generational talent walking out the door and possibly walking straight into your biggest rival's locker room. It's the kind of storyline that would dominate headlines for months. It would light up talk shows and Twitter threads. It would redefine rivalries and reshape the power structure in the AFC. And above all, it would remind us that in this league, nothing is guaranteed. Loyalty is rare. Stability is temporary. And greatness is always on the move. Tyreek Hill in a Bills jersey. Just saying it out loud feels surreal. But don't be surprised if it becomes reality. This league moves fast. And when the cheetah starts running, you better believe he's heading somewhere with purpose. So buckle up. Because if this story keeps unfolding the way it has, we might be about to witness one of the most shocking moves in recent NFL history. And when the dust settles, it won't just be Dolphins fans left picking up the pieces. It'll be the entire league adjusting to a new, terrifying reality. Tyreek Hill on the hunt again. And this time, he might be wearing blue and red. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up.